What's up, YouTube? Homegrown Big. Trying to crank out one more video before this week's done and I'm getting back to the grind. This video I was actually kind of hesitant to put out, and I will tell you before I get into it that I have not finished my research on it. My knowledge of it is incomplete, and I haven't come to any conclusions. But I wanted to share some information that I have found compelling and scary, and the reason why I wanted to get off of supplements. Also, before I get started, I want to talk about my history with supplementation and things that I've said and where my new knowledges are kind of starting to take me. I used a lot of supplements in my life when I was younger, especially when I was bike racing. It became sort of the rage in the industry to take as many things as you could to optimize your performance, from taking glutamine for your to stop muscle loss and to protect your immune system, up to L-carnitine for fat burning. I mean, everything. There was always the litany of performance support. And I went from that into doing bodybuilding. I was considering doing like fitness level bodybuilding, and definitely like was on the the forums and like what's going to maximize my muscle growth with my fat loss, with my health, and how can I be healthiest while keeping super lean. And that was actually kind of what led me up to 80-10-10, because I hit this wall where I was really inflamed in my body, and I thought it was from the level of animal products that I was eating, and perhaps that had something to do with it. But I was taking a lot of muscle milk, and I was taking a lot of supplements, and I started having really bad pain in my body. And like my previous doctor, not the one I have now, I actually left this doctor over some disagreements with their methods. But my doctor at the time said that it was just early onset arthritis and there was nothing to be done about it. Just take more ibuprofen and exercise less. So that was what I was told. And I ended up trying to do like a raw flush detox to get the inflammation down, and that actually worked. So that's a little bit of precursor to this. So with that said, in my history and wanting to really make veganism work for me and for others, I have previously been of the mindset that supplementation is a great way to support a generally healthful lifestyle. And the more that I delve into this, the more that I question that myself and the reasoning of others. So let's get into some starter reasons as to why. So I'm going to speak about this from an American perspective. You might live in another place in the world where this is not the case. But because of the economics behind it, I would suspect that most places are on par with the United States. We do not have supplement industry oversight. The FDA treats supplements like food, not like medicine, even though many supplements act on the body like medicine, even though supplements are manufactured by chemists like medicine, and even though they can cause serious health issues, much like medicines. So there is very little oversight in the manufacturing of supplements, and maybe that'll change a little bit more, but from what I've seen, I don't think that's going to happen because it costs money for oversight, and our government's already screwed anyhow. But this comes back to, like, I wish I had bookmarked this video I saw, because who knows where it is now, somewhere lost in the world of media. But I had seen this undercover show that went and looked, and they were looking into the manufacturing of supplements. And they had a hidden camera, and they went into this supplement manufacturing site, and essentially it was this guy's like basement or garage, some dirty dark place, and he was certified to make supplements, and he was essentially just mixing up powders that he had ordered from cheap from China with no verification of their actual content, and then he was capping them up and selling them. And I mean, it was just unbelievable. But you can go out there and do a little bit more research for yourself and see if you can find some undercover investigations into the supplement industry, and you will be shocked about what you find. So the next thing that I read that really was a trigger for me, and it brings me back to my earlier days of doing bodybuilding when I was eating like a lot of muscle milk and casein and stuff like this that bodybuilders use to put on mass. And Consumer Reports did this independent study, and I haven't checked back into them to see if they've done an update on this. I should do that soon. But they took 15, just 15 of what's on the market. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of protein powders out in the market now. They took 15 popular protein powders, including Muscle Milk and BSN and some of the really big names, and they ran them in an independent lab test for purity. And they found all sorts of toxic heavy metals in them, including lead and arsenic. You're talking about crap that really causes people to get cancer, that really causes people to have severe sickness, lead poisoning, and certainly not anything that promotes weight loss or health. So check out this Consumer Report. It's from 2010, but it's still relevant. And I'll try to get that link in the information section. So that was the first one that was really a huge red flag for me. So as soon as I saw this Consumer Report, it was actually one of the confirming things that helped me switch over and go 80-10-10 to flesh out my body, because for years and years I'd been taking so much muscle milk, all the time in that effort to maximize my human performance. So there's that. And there's more to be said about that, but I really want to point that out, and I want to tell anybody who's watching this to be, whether you're vegan or omnivore, to be very careful about the protein supplements. And there are now some protein supplement sources that go through independent verification, and I would recommend that if you insist on taking protein supplements, that you see if your product has independent verification. So moving on from there into herbal supplements. So a lot of people seeking health, whether they've had health problems or they're vegan looking to support their diet, or they're just simply trying to heal or just be their healthiest person, end up taking some sort of plant-based supplementation. So that's herbs, roots, you name it, it's out there. Herbal medicines, and do not take this, me saying this, as a way to discredit herbal medicine. I think herbal medicine is and can be a very powerful healing tool. However, we have an industry that has no oversight, and we have a lot of people in the world who are shady as fruit. This university did a genetic analysis of a number of herbal supplements and teas, even herbal teas and supplements. And so they would contrast their genetic findings to what was being said was in these products. And they found a gigantic percentage of what was being said was not what was being in the product. So you're talking about people who are lying to make a profit, and that shouldn't shock anybody by now. But people, consumers, myself included in the past, have blindly followed such things in faith. We have the best thoughts for humans and humanity, but we can't. We absolutely can't. People are shady and charlatans, and they will do whatever it takes to make a quick buck. That's what humans want. Humans are generally, as a generalization, super lazy, and they want the fastest way to be comfortable and rich, and it doesn't matter who's in the way of that path. And this is just another prime example of that. We're talking about people who are supposedly selling health and wellness and just taking you for a ride. And so to understand this a little better, we have to think about some chemical geometry. So every molecule that exists, whether it's a protein, a vitamin, or a fat, has a 3D structure. It's not flat. It can be looked at from different perspectives, and it's like a hand. It also will have a double. So hands have left and right, right? Same hand, same structure, same function. However, they're just slightly different in how they are constructed. You can't put a left hand into a right glove, and if you do, it's not going to work very well. It's going to be very awkward. It might cause discomfort, and it might not function properly. And a lot of things that we take into our bodies that we eat and digest are very similar. So we have gloves, we have receptors in our bodies, and these receptors want molecules that are a very specific shape. And that is the lock and key to make the biochemistry work properly. So here's where it gets a little tricky. When we manufacture, we tend to make both right and left-handed molecules. That's the nature of biochemical reactions or chemical reactions, that there is a less than 100% purity of anything that we make. Now, in the world of medicine, this can be really dangerous. There are some medicines that make a certain molecule that's going to step into your body and change your homeostasis, whether it's with hormones or whether it's with whatever the medication's for, seizures or anything else like this. That molecule needs to be specific to the receptor. And if the molecule is the wrong hand, it can kill someone, or it can cause really adverse side effects. And so they, in the medicine industry, they have what's called enantiopure substances. And they actually will go through and they filter out the left-handed if they only want the right hand, or vice versa. And there's certain medicines where this is much more of an issue than others, right? So some we can handle and it doesn't seem to have too bad of an effect, but others have really super notable problems if you get the wrong-handedness in there, and it can throw a system haywire. And this is where I want to talk about supplementation, because when you make supplements, it is inevitable that there is going to be enantiomers. That's what they're called. The left and right hand, it's called an enantiomer. And they're not necessarily manufactured with the highest integrity. They're not necessarily filtered out. So let's talk about just protein and amino acids, for example, as an example right here. So I took this excerpt out of actually a textbook for producing supplements for, it's like a chemistry textbook, right? And humans can only, so there's, with amino acids, there's this same sort of left and right-handedness. And in our bodies, we can only use L forms. So they give it L and D designation instead of left and right. I'm just trying to make it easy for people to understand who don't have a chemistry background. And that's why when you see, you'll see supplements like, for example, say L-carnitine. It's because carnitine is an amino acid, and the L designation before it is saying that it is in a form that is usable by human beings. Here's the thing. Who is making sure that said company is only producing 100% L carnitine and it's not 85% L-carnitine and 15% R-carnitine or D-carnitine. There's not a lot of oversight. Do we have studies of what happens with excessive supplementations with forms of the molecules we can't use? I'm still looking into that, but so far I haven't turned up a lot. And this is the thing about the supplement industry that I'm still questioning and I don't have the answers for, but I do know that there's very little oversight, and that would it be different if we had a standard in manufacturing of supplements that was similar to that of medicine? And even there's a lot of people who say there's not enough controls over medicine and manufacturing of medicine. That's another whole rabbit hole to go down there. But this is my point, that we don't know as much as the claims are making. And there's a lot of people that take supplements that find themselves not even getting the benefit that they're supposed to get. I have a friend who's took all sorts of iron and never absorbed the iron, got really sick, and only could absorb iron from certain food products. We evolved to get these molecules from a whole food source. And I think it is entirely relevant to make that argument. We don't have the conclusive evidence that supplements are really good for us. They may help in a short term, and that's kind of what I think about it. Like, if it's a stop-loss thing, like you have a B12 deficiency and you're starting to have neurodegenerative problems, oh my God, yes, take B12 supplementation. But long term, we don't know what the impact is of potentially taking in a lot of wrong-sided enantiomers into our bodies. They could be hijacking receptors all over our bodies, and we don't know. There's never been a long-term study on a population who has lived off of B12, manufactured B12, for their existence. One of the reasons why I've decided to do what I'm doing now and will continue to do is that I want to not be on supplements of any kind. I don't want to be on supplements. I don't want to be on medications. I don't want to be on pills. I want to eat whole foods. I want to eat whole foods that I grow here or whole foods that I forage. That's what I want in my life, and that's what I'm finding I feel best on. And that is the first installment of why I am a skeptic about supplements. And I'm going to try to do some more very specific examples as I go along in my research, and I will just keep adding to this knowledge, and I'll do a separate playlist. Let me know what you think. If you have information I don't, and please share. Down below, hit like. We'll see you next time.